I wanted to give some of my thoughts on the different camps within the intelligent design movement. Now, within intelligent design, you have the likes of Michael Behe, who believes in intelligent design. He challenges Darwinism and he accepts common ancestry, the last universal common ancestor. He accepts it. And then you have the likes of Paul Nelson, who is different to Michael Behe in the sense that he's a philosopher of biology, and he does not accept common ancestry, and of course he rejects the Darwinian mechanism. So firstly, they're both, of course, anti-Darwinian. That's clear. They're both anti-Darwinian. They both are doing great work, and I've seen their stuff. It's really novel. You learn a lot from their critique of Darwinism. However, I've seen that, this particular internal, if you like, small disagreement amongst, not small, big disagreement amongst ID proponents, some who accept common ancestry, some who don't accept common ancestry. But of course, they both want to challenge Darwinism full on and work together. I wanted to just give some of my thoughts about why people make these choices and what I think the rational choice is. So myself, I of course do not accept the Darwinian mechanism, and I do not accept the common ancestry postulate. And I never will. I will never accept it. And the reason I'll never accept it is because science does not give you that level of certainty. Science will never get to that level. So I'm more along the lines of Paul Nelson. I believe ID or anything that is supposedly put forward to challenge Darwinism, even if it's not, even if you just challenge Darwinism, we should not accept common ancestry. Because I understand that common ancestry can fit under Lamarckism, neo-Lamarckism, neo-mutationism, evolution by natural genetic engineering. You can have very nuanced discussions, but look, here's why I will never accept it, and here's why I believe Michael Behe, as much as the great stuff he's done, I believe he's wrong in accepting common ancestry. Because firstly, we all agree the Darwinian mechanism is nonsense. We all agree with that. So whether you're pro-ID or not pro-ID, whether you're part of common ancestry in ID or non-common ancestry in ID, we all agree the Darwinian mechanism is nonsense. Now, since the Darwinian mechanism is poor and pathetic and cannot create the biological novelty that we see in the body plans and all the rest, then how on earth can someone accept the common ancestry postulate and reject the mechanism? Because surely Darwinian theory is a theory, if you take the two parts of it working together, it's a theory of transformation, essentially. Massive transformation. Naturalistic transformation. Now, I don't want to get into micro and macro, and I've mentioned before I don't like using those terms, but I just want to highlight something. You can have non-Darwinian macroevolution, right? So macroevolution is not necessarily Darwinian. But anyway, you can have massive changes. That's the whole idea of Darwinism. You have that flexibility, and you have that in the alternatives as well. So before Darwin, we had the idea of common ancestry. And common ancestry really took off because Darwin gave it a mechanism. Now, if the mechanism is suspect, and Michael Behe accepts that the mechanism is suspect, then why is he accepting common ancestry? Because all the similarities you can point at, right, and all of the differences you can point at, and if the mechanism is pathetic, is poor, which is what it is, and Michael Behe agrees with that too, that the mechanism has limits and it's been completely overplayed, right, and it's not fit for the job, then unless you have another mechanism, how on earth can you accept it? Because you cannot have transformation without the mechanism. So I usually give the example of a bridge, that you have two foundations of the bridge on either side, and you have the road crossing over. So the road crossing over is from one species to another, or the whole tree of life as a whole. And the foundations, of course, is natural selection. So you cannot just accept common ancestry without a mechanism. You have to have a mechanism. So that's why I think maybe maybe if you have some disagreements with me on this, I'd like to hear your thoughts, especially if you're an ID proponent. But I just see it as giving too much, trying to find the right word here. You're giving unnecessary ground away. Even if I totally accept this, even if someone is completely anti-Darwinian, they can still be pro-common ancestry. But I think that is still problematic, because if for example, as a Muslim, and I've heard many Muslims speaking about the Big Bang Theory being supposed evidence for the universe, for the Quran being a miracle. Now, if I accept Big Bang Theory and I reject Darwinian theory, then I am basically being inconsistent. Now, I don't mean accept as in accept pragmatically, because I do accept common ancestry pragmatically as a working model. I accept Darwinism as a working model. I accept the Big Bang as a working model, but I don't accept them to be literally true, right? Just as a working model. But if I was to accept the Big Bang, because it's in line with the Quran supposedly, and reject evolutionary theory because it's not in line, then I would be cherry picking, because I'm taking one and not taking the other. So the ID proponents who are pro-common ancestry, they're basically selective, right? And I don't mean to criticize the ID people, because I do think they do great work. And I have been wrong, and I've mentioned before in the past, I've been wrong about them, and I've changed my mind about them. Although my position is still not clear exactly what we need to do in terms of ID. But I don't see Behe's position as being logical. I see Nelson's position as being consistent. He's consistently rejecting Darwinism as in the mechanism, and also rejecting common ancestry. So, like I mentioned before, I will never accept common ancestry, and I'll never accept the Darwinian mechanism because of the philosophy of science, and I think that's enough. Maybe the differences between Michael Behe and Paul Nelson, they exist because Paul comes from a background of philosophy of biology, and so he has more of a bird's eye view. And Michael Behe, even though he's a great scientist and great, he's made contribution to the field of design, I think having that philosopher's eye is very different to having a biologist just looking at the problem. And now, I'm not saying he's not aware of the philosophy of biology, but that's just what I think. That's a possible reason why there's a disagreement. Anyway, I hope in this short video you've understood my perspective on the sort of debate about common ancestry within ID, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. And we're all growing in knowledge together. We're all on this journey together. We're all evolving together in a progressive way, which is non-Darwinian. And I'd just love to hear your thoughts.